10 o'clock and I am gonna have some coffee, a little heavy whipping cream, MCT oil, and just sit with that for a bit. Very hungry today. Still feeling pretty puny and stayed home from work again. And so I'm just gonna take it easy. I put in a terrible night's sleep last night. I couldn't breathe, and alternately I was coughing, congested, and so just plan on resting today, and that's pretty much it. Right, it is about 11 o'clock, and I am having 2 turkey sausage patties, an ounce of cheddar cheese, and 4 egg yolks, and I have cooked those in a tablespoon of ghee. Why are you cute? Why? Oh.
He's talking about rape. I mean, that's scary stuff right there.
I'm not crying, you're crying. We are having taco salads for dinner. Alright, you guys, I have just made some chia pudding. It won't be ready until tomorrow, but I'm making a big old batch of it. I made it with, basically the ratio is 1/4 of a cup of the seeds to 1 cup of liquid, whatever liquid you want to use. In this case, I used a combination of almond milk and flaxseed milk because the flaxseed milk is lower in carbs than the almond milk. Alright, I'm having eggs, 4 eggs, an ounce of cheddar cheese, and one of the KETO English muffins for my breakfast. Okay, and I'm having 8 ounces of black coffee with 2 tablespoons heavy whipping cream, 1 tablespoon MCT oil, and 1 tablespoon of collagen. You guys, I made lasagna on this side, probably about to right here. I made it with regular lasagna noodles for my husband, and then from here over to the other end, I made it with slices of zucchini. Okay, starting my morning off with a cup of black coffee, to which you guys at this point know the drill is 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, 1 tablespoon MCT oil, and 1 tablespoon collagen. And so I just pour all of them into this little measuring cup that has become my favorite, and we'll go ahead and add that. And I don't have one of those fancy little immersion blenders, so I actually just stir it and let it do its thing. And I will and have been adding a couple drops of this better stevia hazelnut sweetener. That's it for now. Alright, you guys, we are getting ready to have breakfast. This in the skillet is spinach, feta cheese, eggs, and a few ounces of mozzarella cheese. Alright, you guys, I am gonna make this today. So I've got my roast in my slow cooker. Instead of the 1/2 cup soy sauce, because soy sauce is high in carbs, I'm gonna go ahead and use coconut aminos. And so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna have mine on French bread, but my husband's gonna pick some up for him. Alright, so I have added 3 to 4 whole peppercorns to my crock pot. I've added 1 cube of beef bouillon, bay leaf, in my case I added 2, a teaspoon of thyme, a teaspoon of granulated garlic, and it calls for half a cup of soy sauce. In my case, I used a half a cup of coconut aminos. Again, the carbs on soy sauce are much higher, so I'm using this as my substitute. The only thing I'm missing from my recipe is rosemary, and so I have my ever-patient hubs going to the store to get some rosemary. I didn't know I was out. So I've got that all in the crock pot, and then basically you use water to fill up the crock pot until it's just almost covering the roast. And according to the recipe, you then cook it on low for 10 to 12 hours. I'm going to cook mine on high, and hopefully it will be done by dinner time. It's a pretty small roast. Right, you guys. So I mentioned that I was making French dip, which basically cooks the meat in its own au jus. And so that meat is ready, so I'm just basically taking a knife and a fork, and it's very tender. It's basically just falling away, and I'm just shredding it kind of with the knife and fork. So I'm going to do that with all of the meat, put that back in the au jus to kind of hang out, and then my husband is going to have that with regular rolls that he purchased. And I don't think I'm going to have this tonight. I think I'm going to have leftovers, but I'll show you here what I'm going to have pretty soon. Alright, you guys, so I did go ahead and get this all shredded and then put it back in the au jus. My grandmother, whose recipe this was kind of a purist and probably kind of a normal person who would skim all of this. She would drain all the au jus and get all the little herbs out so that the au jus was clear. I don't actually mind, aside from getting the bay leaf out and the sprigs of rosemary. I don't mind that. So anyway, that's one thing you can do. And then this is the meat. It basically just falls apart. And typically what I like to do is I like to make a really big roast and do it this way. And then I like to use the leftovers. And I basically use the leftovers. I basically just add sour cream to the remaining bits of beef and au jus, and it becomes actually sour cream and onions and mushrooms, and that becomes kind of like a beef stroganoff, and that's usually the next day meal. In this case, this was the tiniest of roasts, so I don't think there's really going to be too much in the way of leftovers. I probably will go ahead and freeze any remaining broth, but I'm guessing my husband will probably all but take care of the meat tonight, or maybe, one more sandwich tomorrow. But yeah, typically you can double it, you can make a really big roast, have lots of leftovers, and then either have French dips the next day, or you can do what I do, which again is to add a carton of sour cream, some sauteed mushrooms and onions, and then of course I used to have that over egg noodles, and so now I'm not sure what I would do with it. Probably just eat it by itself or over some, I don't know, rice cauliflower or something. But anyway, this is what Hubs is gonna have for dinner, and I'm gonna have leftovers.